Jason Garrett, not the only one enduring awkward lines of questioning these days. Ian Rapoport and Jim Trotter with us now. What are you hearing, Ian, about other teams that could be looking for new coaches come Monday?
Well, we already know about two of them. The Carolina Panthers, Washington Redskins have already moved on from head coaches. Both of those guys obviously going to be trying to hire new ones. And, of course, the Carolina Panthers have already interviewed one person in Mike McCarthy. A couple other teams to keep an eye on who may be searching for new head coaches. One, of course, the Dallas Cowboys. Everyone knows that if Jason Garrett does not take his team to the playoffs, certainly it seems they are going to be looking for a new head coach. Giants coach Pat Shurmur, another coach on the hot seat. Just the way it has gone for him this year just does not seem like his team has made the kind of progress that the Giants want. Then some others we are monitoring: the Atlanta Falcons, the Cleveland Browns, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Some of that may actually depend on what happens on the field Sunday, but seems all of those are at this point undecided about the futures of their head coach.
Tricky thing about firing a head coach is you have to have a better candidate to take his place. Who's out there and available, Jim?
You know, Lindsay, what's interesting is that when you talk to people around the league, there are a handful of former NFL head coaches that they talk about whose names are being mentioned. They think that Ron Rivera will have a shot at a job if he wants it this year. Another name being mentioned, Mike McCarthy, who already interviewed down in Carolina. Other names, Josh McDaniels, Marvin Lewis. Also a name I'm hearing, too, is Jim Caldwell. There have been inquiries about him. He's an assistant down in Miami. When he was in Detroit, went to the playoffs twice in 4 years. They had only one playoff appearance in the 14 years prior to him arriving there. So that's a name to watch as well. But also we have names of guys who have not been head coaches yet in the NFL. Among them, Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator. He is going to get interviews. Also, Matt Rule, the Baylor coach, is a guy that teams are hot on as well. One other name potentially we hear a lot about is Lincoln Riley down in Oklahoma. We'll just have to see if that one pans out.
That's a great list. A lot of those names you mentioned, probably all those names are going to get interviews. A couple other guys I would mention as well. Dennis Allen, the Saints defensive coordinator, seems to have a lot of buzz. He has taken that unit from one of the NFL's worst to one of the NFL's best. Robert Saleh, similar situation with the San Francisco 49ers. Sounds like he certainly is going to have some head coach interest, as will Don Wink Martindale, the Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator. Just the way they play and everything the Ravens built, no doubt teams are going to be looking at trying to replicate that. And then kind of a wild card here, Raheem Morris, who has taken control of this Falcons defense. Really the second half of the season has done an incredible job. A former head coach who may, in fact, get an interview or two down the line.
Yeah, you know, Lindsay, what's interesting about what Ian said is all of those guys are legitimate names and deserve opportunities. But what you're hearing around the league, at least what I'm hearing, is that owners still seem to be stuck on young offensive-minded coaches. And that doesn't play well for some of these defensive guys. Unfortunately, they deserve an opportunity. As Tony Dungy said to me last summer, right now owners don't know what they're looking for in head coaches. And so they follow the trend. And the trend has been in recent year young offensive-minded coaches. So unless they step out of that, we're going to see more of the same. One other caveat here, what I'm hearing around the league, some teams are interested in talking to offensive coordinators on the collegiate level, minority offensive coordinators on the collegiate level, but some of them are reluctant to interview because they do not believe, based on the league's recent hiring practices, that these will be legitimate interviews. Remember, of the last 15 head coaching openings, only 2 were filled by people of color.
What about general manager candidates that you're hearing buzz about, Jim, in case that job becomes available anywhere?
Well, we know all of the names that have been out there, but let's choose a name that we may not have heard much about. And that name is Andrew Berry, who's an executive with the Philadelphia Eagles. Everyone I talk to about Andrew tells me he is sharp, bright, he knows what he's doing, and they believe that it is a matter of when, not if, he becomes a general manager. So that is somebody to keep an eye on as we go forward.
Yeah, Andrew Berry is certainly a hot name. If there are general manager openings, and certainly seems like there are going to be a couple other names to watch. George Payton with the Minnesota Vikings, assistant GM there. Really hot name, really well respected. Nick Caserio, who of course runs the show in New England, always a hot candidate. Sounds like this year he would welcome opportunities potentially to interview. A couple Seattle guys we've mentioned, Trent Kirshner and Scott Fitterer, always are hot names at this time of year. And then Martin Mayhew with the San Francisco 49ers. Everything they have built, teams are going to be looking at that organization, trying to figure out how did they do it. He may get interest as well.
Ian Rapoport, Jim Trotter, thank you very much.
for the team's tight end. It's about getting clearance from doctors and making sure he's not putting himself at greater risk than just those cracked ribs on Sunday. There are internal organs that the Eagles need to take into consideration here. So we will see if Ertz gets that clearance. He did not practice on Thursday, was listed as did not practice on Wednesday in what was an injury report projection because the team didn't hold a practice. So it looks like for the time being, Dallas Goedert, the second tight end, is going to have to really step up for this team, as will Richard Rodgers, who was just re-signed this week after being cut by the team back in September. Tackle Lane Johnson, he remains out of action. Doesn't look like he's going to play on Sunday. But the good news for the Eagles is running back Jordan Howard, who has not played since November 3rd, is expected to get full clearance and be on the field on Sunday to go alongside rookie running back Miles Sanders, who, by the way, has really stepped it up recently. But having Howard as that power back certainly wouldn't hurt.
Ooh, Howard and Sanders. That would be interesting.
That would be great.
Peterson says he's going to stick with the hot hand, though, so Sanders would remain in the role that he's been in the last couple of weeks. No Ertz, though, potentially. That could change this dramatically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Doug Peterson has been magical with how he's used his personnel in the different groups. But Zach Ertz has definitely been Carson Wentz's best guy giving him the football, a guy that he schemed up, Doug Peterson, and getting him the football, whether it's short yardage, whether it's in space, got to have it plays. Zach Ertz is your guy. And they've been using a lot of 12 personnel, which means two tight ends where he is the vocal point. Every time Carson Wentz drops back, he's trying to get that man the ball right there, Zach Ertz.
It means their leading receiver on the season. Their top three leading receivers are two tight ends and a running back, which tells you everything you need to know about the way that their offense has gone this year. Is this going to be a tough matchup for them?
No question. This team has not laid down. The Giants, they have not laid down for anybody. They're playing some really good football. They got Daniel Jones back. Saquon Barkley is setting records in the backfield. And when you look at the Giants and what they're doing, they're fighting at the end of the season. Saquon Barkley, it starts right here up front with the running game. You got to prepare for him just handing him the football. He can make all these explosive plays. They're going to design plays, Pat Shurmur, for him in and out of the backfield. And then Daniel Jones moving the pocket. Slayton hit him real big last time they played for over 150 yards and a touchdown. Daniel Jones is not a sitting duck in the pocket. He's going to move the pocket, which means that opens up the playbook for their coordinators in calling those different plays. And then when a play breaks down, he can do that. He can move outside of the pocket, and he's extremely accurate down the field. So this team's not laying down. They present different problems. It's going to be a tough game, especially with all the parts that are missing for the Eagles.
Eagles-Giants, one of 7 afternoon games on Sunday, and it will feature both of the FedEx Air and Ground winners from Week 16.
Takes the snap, he's back to throw. Fires one right, touchdown Giants! Caden Smith, and they win it in overtime! Jones' 5th touchdown pass of the ball game. They give it to Barkley again. Big hole up the middle. Barkley across midfield. Breaks to the 40, to the 30, to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Dives for the end zone. Is he in? Touchdown Giants!
Look at it. The Giants get performances like that, they could upset the Philadelphia Eagles. That would mean the Cowboys would only need to beat Washington to win the division. These two teams played back in Week 2. Dak and Zeke combined for 4 touchdowns in the first month of the season in that game. How about the rematch, though? Let's go to the star in Frisco and Jane Slater.
Dak Prescott says he was there mentally on Sunday against the Eagles, but he didn't make the plays or throws that he wanted to. He also didn't get any throwing in on Wednesday or Thursday, but hopes to get some in on Friday, mirroring the preparation he had ahead of that contest against the Eagles. Now, speaking with reporters, he was asked about the prospect of this being the last game for Jason Garrett, given this is the last year in his contract. Prescott said, quote, "I think it's the last game of mine as well, so I'll be damned if I speak on anyone else's future or their place." Prescott is in the final year of his contract. The Cowboys can franchise tag him or extend him.
Thank you, Jane. Last week when the Cowboys lost to the Eagles, one of their issues was dropped passes. According to PFF, the Cowboys had 5 drops, which was tied for 3rd most in a game by any team this entire season. Our Brian Baldinger shows how costly those drops were in this latest installment of Playbook.
Last week was a disappointing loss for everybody in Dallas, but they left a lot of plays that could have been made on the field. Let me show you a couple examples right here. I mean, here's Michael Gallup, and on this play, he's going to run this pick route right here with Jason Witten on 2nd and 10, and he's going to come wide open on the play. It's a classic man beater. Everybody has this play in their playbook. Right there. There's the drop. Now, if you catch this ball, you're going to go a long ways after the catch. All right, but it's a drop. Now, it's not a great throw, but it's still a play that can be made. Now, you look at this play right here. I mean, in the slot is Randall Cobb. All right? He's going to run this route here where he's going to take this into the void. And it's going to be wide open against the Eagles' zone defense. And the throw is there to be made. But it's a drop. It's a drop right here in the middle of this zone. It's the right play. They attack it the right way. You got to make the catch. Now, Dak Prescott wasn't perfect in some of these throws. But here, you got a great opportunity for Michael Gallup to get behind Jalen Mills on this go route. I mean, he gets behind the defense right here, and Dak puts some air underneath it. And this ball is opportunity right there, missed. Now, Dak wasn't perfect. The